Good to have you back on Global Business Report. Nigeria is facing a housing deficit so large that it is estimated to be between 17 and 20 million units. A large portion of the population are still stuck in substandard living conditions that lack basic amenities like potable water, food and basic shelter. Lagos, one of the fastest growing cities in the world, is actively threatened by overcrowding. There is extraordinary demand for our government and the private sector to work together to find a way to meet the urgent need for safe and affordable housing. Good news is that housing deficit represents a $300 billion potential market opportunity. This means there is high incentive for a solution and a huge opportunity for economic advancement. And joining me in the studio to discuss how Nigeria can make housing more affordable for low-income and middle-income earners is Mr. Kola Fola Alade, the CEO of Rapid Shelters. Good to have you with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so can you tell us about the new Nigeria project and how it can tackle the problem of housing deficit at this rate?
Well, the new Nigeria project is a holistic strategy to tackle poverty, unemployment, underdevelopment, not just housing, to tackle a bigger problem. But we are using housing as a catalyst to achieve this goal. It's in the actual objectives is in line with the president's statement that he made during the Democracy Day to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. Now, it's a very ambitious project, but that's what we need in Nigeria to get us out of this negative narrative of being the poverty capital of the world.
True.
So it is achievable. India has done it, like it says. Indonesia, China have done it. Nigeria can do it, but it's got to be teamwork, holistic strategy. Now, like you said, to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years, we must be seen to be lifting 10 million people out of poverty every year for 10 years. Now, how do we get 10 million people out of poverty? We want to use the housing for the poor, low-income earners as a catalyst to achieve this. If we build 1 million housing units every year for the bottom of the pyramid, we are talking minimum wage earners, farmers, internally displaced people, non-income earners. You see, this is a huge problem that is also an amazing opportunity if harnessed properly. Now, if you have husband, wife, and 3 children per family, and you multiply that by 1 million housing units, you already have 5 million people clearly taking out of poverty into relative prosperity. They're even going to be potential millionaires because these houses cost from under 2 million naira, 2.5 million naira. So once they get these houses, they can't be considered poor anymore because it's not just housing, it's housing with infrastructure, basic amenities. We are using it to, harness, tie in the various policies, programs, and projects of the federal government's economic recovery and growth plan, the objectives of the African Union's free trade agreement, area agreement, and then the ideals of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, all into one single project. Because what has been happening prior to this time is most ministries, ministers, agencies, parastatals, everybody wants to do his own project individually. It can't work.
There's lack of continuity.
Harmonization is the thing. Coordination, yes. I mean, one broomstick can't sweep this room.
True. But
if you have a whole bunch of broomsticks together, you sweep the dirt out of this room immediately. But right now, you can imagine each minister holding one broomstick. You're not going to have the desired impact. Meanwhile, we're spending a lot of money every year on budgets. We are not doing 10 trillion. At the end of the year, not many people are impacted by what is happening. So the new Nigeria project is an out-of-the-box thinking strategy to tackle these issues in a visible, for visible impact and a greater efficiency.
Very good. Now, let's talk about the cashless trade by barter house purchase. What exactly is it and how is it beneficial to the public, you think?
Yes. Yet again, we have to think outside the box to come up with innovative strategies. Like you say, you can't keep doing the same thing the same way and you expect to get a different result. It's a sign of madness, and we are not mad. At least most of us are not. Now, there are 2 products that we are trying to do on this, put forward on the new Nigeria project, which I'm emphasizing is not just housing. It's housing tied to education, tied to healthcare, everything in one package. Now, there's minimum wage housing for people on that earn 30,000 naira, 40, 50,000 naira.
Okay.
I mean, that's straightforward. They have jobs, you can deduct 1/3 of their salary, like 10,000 naira a month, or 350 naira per day.
Okay.
500 naira per day. If we call a house 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, we've cut off psychologically most Nigerians.
True.
They can't connect to that.
Yeah.
But if we bring it to daily mortgage payment, most of them are used to adjure this daily contribution. So we've got to bring it to a level where they can understand, because most of the time we talk above, the generality of these masses level. Now, just throwing it in, we are trying to put furniture in each of these houses. Chair, table, bed, mattress, pillow, cooker, cutting. If we don't provide all this furniture, we are going to bring the poverty from their background, the slums and IDP camps, into this new scheme. So we are trying to just help them make life easier for them. It's not really about the profit, even though it is profitable. Yeah. But it's about helping people, helping humanity. Now, the cashless housing you mentioned, you see, if they say Nigerians are, 75% of Nigerians are poor, out of 200 million Nigerians, we are talking 150 million Nigerians that are not privileged enough to be on minimum wage. Now, that's a time bomb that we're all sitting on. Because, like they say, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. True. Why are we surprised that there's so much insecurity in the land? Banditry, kidnapping, cultism, ritual murder, illegal, dangerous migration.
People need to be engaged. Yeah.
They all need to be engaged. So we had to think outside the box again and came up with this strategy called cashless housing. Simple meaning you use sweat equity to get a house. You can work to get a house. You can farm to get a house. You can you can use your farm produce like rice, maize, beans, short-term crops in exchange for mortgage repayment. Simple trade by barter, going back to the same old basics. Yes, right. And that's what we call cashless housing. There are 4 economic sectors in the new Nigeria project. There's construction, agriculture, solid minerals, and micro-enterprise development. So you use what you have to get what you want. And with a laborer, for instance, somebody that doesn't have a job, didn't go to school, doesn't have a skill, doesn't know anybody. Yeah. He can be a laborer on the site. Okay. Come and mold blocks. Come and carry cement, mix concrete, or whatever it is. We pay laborers 2,000 naira a day.
And minimum 1,000. And to a large extent, it also encourages people to be productive in whatever field they're actively engaged in.
Absolutely.
In line with your objectives as well.
Yes, please let me chip this in. You see, the strategy we are trying to adopt now is slightly different from the norm. We are using this project to wage a full-scale war against the biggest form of terrorism in the world, which is poverty. And during this project, because poverty kills more people than Boko Haram, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, those are small boys compared to poverty. So during this project's implementation, we are going to convert the unemployed youth into a construction, agriculture, and industrial army. We'll be using weapons of mass construction for their war, like wheelbarrows, shovels, diggers, and bulldozers, instead of weapons of mass destruction as is prevalent. Look at all the madness, guns. Where did we get this from?
All right.
Unemployment.
Okay. All right, briefly on this, what difficulties do you envisage in implementation and getting low minimum wage income earners, as you've alluded to buy into the project, and how do you intend to solve that problem? Briefly, please.
Difficulty, the sad reality is that there are some people that actually benefit from keeping people in poverty. It's business for a couple of people. Look at internally displaced people's camps. True. It's business for some devils that are just sitting down there and living fat off the misery of these people. Those are the biggest challenges, but we are not afraid of them. We've got to do what is right. Creating awareness for the populace, because you can't, it's not a hard sell to tell someone who is dying of thirst in the desert that there's water available for him. They just need to be aware. If you're telling someone, look, you can work and save 300 naira, 350 naira a day, 500, 700 naira a day, most right-thinking people would key into the program. So it's awareness, publicity. That kind of thing is what we need.
Indeed, time is not on our side, but I think the message has been hit home. Mr. Kola Fola Alade, CEO, Rapid Shelter, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Neil.
All right.